Number 11. The Phantom Train Station, Sem City's Eternal Platform. In Sem City, an old train station sits abandoned at the edge of town, its platforms cracked and tracks overgrown. Locals call it the Phantom Train Station, claiming that ghostly trains still arrive at night, carrying passengers who vanished decades ago. The story begins in 1922, when a late-night train full of travelers disappeared into thick fog. The train was never found, yet for years afterward, townsfolk reported hearing the whistle of a train in the dead of night, the clatter of wheels along invisible tracks, and the muffled conversations of passengers waiting silently on the platform. Visitors describe terrifying encounters. The station appears normal at first, but shadows twist unnaturally and trains seem to appear out of nowhere. One explorer reported stepping onto the platform and seeing a full train, lit from within by a ghostly glow. Figures inside stared silently, motionless, their eyes hollow. When he tried to board, the train vanished, leaving him frozen in the fog, feeling unseen hands pushing him backward. In 1960, a group of teenagers dared to explore the station at night. As they wandered along the platform, the distant whistle of a train grew louder. Lights flickered across the tracks, and shadowy figures appeared walking alongside them. One teen stepped too close to the edge and disappeared, as if pulled into the train itself. The others ran, claiming the station seemed to stretch endlessly, twisting the tracks and fog around them. Locals insist the Phantom Train Station does more than haunt. It traps souls, looping them into its spectral trains and platforms for eternity. Anyone who lingers risks being carried away on a journey from which there is no return. Even today, residents report faint whistles at night, glowing lights along the abandoned tracks, and the sensation of being followed. Some swear they hear their own names called from the train, inviting them aboard. If you ever find yourself at the old train station in Sem City after dark, do not step onto the platform. Do not follow the whistle, because the Phantom Train Station waits patiently, and some who board are never seen again. Number 12. The Crying Woman of Sem City, Streets of Sorrow. In Sem City, there's an old theater district that locals avoid after dusk. On foggy nights, a pale woman in white is said to wander the streets, weeping silently. They call her the Crying Woman, warning that her sorrow is contagious, and those who see her may vanish or suffer misfortune. The story begins in 1919, when a young actress named Lillian Hart was tragically killed in a fire at the city's theater. Her body was never recovered, and witnesses claimed her screams could be heard echoing through the empty streets for weeks afterward. Over time, sightings of her ghost began, a figure in white, gliding silently, tears glinting in the moonlight, pointing at the ground as if marking something unseen. Witnesses described chilling encounters. The crying woman appears suddenly at street corners, alleys, or theater entrances. She does not speak, but the sound of her sobbing fills the air. Those who approach feel an icy chill and a sense of unbearable sadness. Some swear that if you meet her gaze, you are compelled to follow her steps, and if you do, you may disappear into the darkness. One passerby claimed he ignored her once, only to return the next day and find a tree had fallen exactly where he had stood.
In 1963, a group of teenagers dared to track her through the theater district. As fog rolled in, her sobs grew louder. Shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally along the brick walls. One teen vanished after following her into a narrow alley. The others fled, claiming that the streets themselves had shifted, looping them in circles until they escaped the fog. Locals warn that the crying woman doesn't merely haunt the streets, she marks those who witness her sorrow, drawing them into a cycle of fear and loss. Anyone who lingers risks being claimed by the unseen, swallowed by the very darkness she inhabits. Even today, foggy nights bring her presence to life. Residents report soft sobs from empty alleys, glimpses of a pale figure drifting silently, and a chilling feeling that someone is watching them. Some swear that if you hear her cries and look too long, she may beckon you into the darkness forever. If you ever walk through Sem City's old theater district at night, do not follow the sobs. Do not approach the figure in white, because the crying woman waits patiently, and some who follow her steps are never seen again.
Number 13. The Abandoned Schoolhouse, Sem City's Screaming Halls. On the outskirts of Sem City, hidden behind overgrown weeds and crumbling fences, sits an old one-room schoolhouse. Locals call it the Abandoned Schoolhouse, claiming that at night the building echoes with screams, laughter, and footsteps, the restless spirits of children who once studied there. The story begins in 1925, when a fire broke out in the schoolhouse during a winter evening. Some children escaped, but others vanished, their bodies never found. Soon after, neighbors reported hearing tiny footsteps running through the halls, faint giggles in empty classrooms, and whispers repeating names no one alive could know. Visitors described terrifying encounters. Doors slam on their own, blackboards scratch and squeak, and the faint scent of chalk and smoke lingers in the air. Shadows flit across the walls, often shaped like children running or pointing. One urban explorer swore he saw a group of small figures standing silently by the window, staring at him with empty eyes, and when he blinked, they were gone. In 1968, a group of teenagers dared to spend the night inside. As darkness fell, the air grew colder, and the creaking floorboards sounded like dozens of tiny feet. One of them peeked through the classroom doorway and saw hands reaching through the walls, trying to grab him. Panicked, he fled outside, but later reported hearing the whispers calling his name from the shadows even after he had left the building. Locals warn that the abandoned schoolhouse does more than haunt. It traps the curious, replaying the final moments of its young victims. Those who linger risk becoming part of the echoing halls, wandering endlessly as unseen children, forever bound to the building. Even today, hikers and urban explorers report faint laughter at night, the creaking of unseen footsteps, and whispers calling their names. Some swear that if you linger too long, the spirits may reach out, pulling you into the classrooms forever. If you ever approach the old schoolhouse in Sem City after dark, do not enter, do not answer the whispers, because the abandoned schoolhouse waits patiently, and some who step inside are never seen again. Number 14. The Haunted Cotton Mill, Sem City's Restless Workers. In Sem City, a massive old cotton mill sits abandoned at the edge of town. Its brick walls are cracked, windows shattered, and machinery rusted beyond repair. Locals whisper about the haunted cotton mill, claiming the spirits of workers who perished in a mysterious accident continue to roam its halls.
The story begins in 1912 when a fire broke out in the mill during a late-night shift. Many workers were trapped inside, and their bodies were never fully recovered. Soon after, townspeople began reporting strange occurrences, shadows moving among the looms, the clatter of machinery when no power existed, and cold gusts of air in hallways that should have been still. Visitors describe horrifying experiences. Rusted looms begin moving as if tended by invisible hands. Mirrors reflect ghostly figures in old uniforms standing silently among the machinery. One urban explorer reported laughing nervously at first, only to see his own reflection smiling back when he wasn't smiling, the shadow behind him mimicking his every move. Others feel icy hands touch their shoulders or hear faint whispers warning them to leave. In 1967, a group of thrill-seekers decided to explore the mill at night. As they walked the corridors, the air grew dense and the machinery seemed to awaken. Shadows darted along the walls, and one of the group vanished after stepping near a loom. The others fled, claiming the hallways had shifted, creating loops and dead ends that disoriented them completely. Locals insist the haunted cotton mill does more than haunt its walls. It traps souls, replaying the last moments of its workers endlessly. Those who linger risk joining the workforce of the dead, tending to invisible looms and moving through corridors that shift like a labyrinth. Even today, residents report hearing machinery whirring faintly at night, ghostly figures standing in broken windows, and whispers carried on the wind from empty rooms. Some swear that if you linger too long, the mill watches you, waiting to claim another worker. If you ever approach the old cotton mill in Sem City after dark, do not enter. Do not follow the shadows, because the haunted cotton mill waits patiently, and some who step inside are never seen again.
Number 15. The Mirror of the Old Mansion. Sem City's Reflection of Death. In Sem City, an abandoned mansion sits quietly on a hill, its windows dark and halls empty. Locals whisper about the mirror of the old mansion, claiming that it does not always reflect the present. Instead, it shows what waits after death, trapping the curious in visions they cannot escape. The story begins in 1908, when a wealthy family vanished from the mansion under mysterious circumstances. Their possessions remained, including a large ornate mirror in the main hall. Soon after, neighbors reported glimpses of shadowy figures behind the glass, even when no one stood before it. Some claimed the mirror reflected scenes of past tragedies, others visions of their own deaths. Visitors described chilling encounters. The mirror seems to breathe with a faint mist, and reflections sometimes move independently. One explorer recalled seeing himself lying in a dark room, motionless, while the reflection of the mansion's long-dead family stood around him. Another claimed the mirror stepped closer when he leaned in, almost reaching for him with spectral hands. Many who dared to look deeply said they felt frozen, unable to look away, as if the glass itself held them captive. In 1965, a group of teens dared to explore the mansion at night. As they approached the mirror, the air grew cold and shadows swirled across the floor. One of them stared too long and vanished. The others screamed as his reflection remained in the mirror, frozen, reaching out silently. Panicked, they fled, swearing that the mansion's halls shifted behind them, preventing escape and trapping them in a maze of empty rooms and echoing footsteps. Locals warned that the mirror of the old mansion does more than haunt. It traps souls, showing them visions they may never escape. Those who linger risk being absorbed into the glass, becoming part of the mansion's eternal reflections, forever staring into the world of the living without ever returning.
Even today, people report glimpses of pale figures in the mansion's windows, faint reflections in mirrors along the halls, and a feeling of being watched when near the property. Some swear that if you peer into the mirror too long, it may pull you into a world from which there is no return. If you ever approach the old mansion in Sem City at night, do not enter. Do not look into the mirror, because the mirror of the old mansion waits patiently, and some who stare too long are never seen again.
Number 16. The Lantern Lady, Sem City's silent wanderer. On the quiet streets of Sem City, locals speak of a mysterious woman who roams at night, carrying a flickering lantern. Known as the Lantern Lady, she walks silently, never speaking, appearing suddenly in the mist and vanishing the moment anyone tries to approach her. The story begins in 1924, when a young woman named Clara Whitmore vanished without a trace. Some say she was searching for someone who had wronged her. Others whisper that she was cursed after a tragedy struck her family. Soon afterward, townsfolk reported seeing a woman with a lantern drifting through the foggy streets, her pale face illuminated by the flickering light, eyes filled with sorrow and longing. Visitors described terrifying encounters. The Lantern Lady moves unnaturally, gliding rather than walking. Her light casts long, distorted shadows, and the air grows icy when she approaches. One passerby reported texting a friend to warn him, "She's following me," only to feel a cold hand brush his shoulder, but when he turned, no one was there. Another explorer swore he glimpsed her through an alley, only to find that her lantern illuminated not one, but dozens of faint shadowy figures surrounding him silently. In 1962, a group of teenagers dared to follow her through the streets one foggy night. They kept their distance, but every time they thought they lost her, the lantern appeared around a corner or atop a distant rooftop. One teen, entranced by the light, stepped into the street and vanished without a trace. The others fled, reporting that the city streets had twisted and warped, guiding them away, but the Lantern Lady's light lingered, visible in their peripheral vision long after they had escaped. Locals warn that the Lantern Lady does more than haunt the streets. She searches endlessly, drawn to souls filled with fear, curiosity, or grief. Those who linger risk being drawn into her silent procession, wandering the city eternally, always chased by a pale figure and her flickering lantern. Even today, residents report seeing the soft glow of a lantern in the fog, feeling a presence behind them, and hearing faint footsteps echoing their own. Some swear that if you stare too long, she may step closer, silently beckoning you to follow her into the darkness. If you ever walk the streets of Sem City at night and see a flickering lantern in the fog, do not follow it, do not call out, because the Lantern Lady waits patiently, and some who step too close are never seen again. Number 17. The Silent Bell Tower, Sem City's Toll of Shadows. In the heart of Sem City stands an old bell tower, abandoned for decades, yet locals say its bell still tolls at midnight. They call it the Silent Bell Tower, warning that those who hear its chime alone may glimpse shadows moving in ways that defy reality and sometimes disappear entirely. The story begins in 1911, when the tower's original caretaker vanished during a stormy night. Since then, witnesses report hearing the bell ring at odd hours, even though the mechanism has long since been broken. At the same time, shadows appear at the top windows, silently watching, their eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Visitors describe chilling experiences. The stairs seem to stretch endlessly as you climb. The air grows icy, and faint whispers echo through the stone halls. One explorer reported seeing a shadow descend the staircase, while another shadow climbed behind him, mirroring his movements exactly. Another claimed that when the bell tolled, ghostly figures appeared in the corners, frozen mid-motion,
watching silently as if judging intruders. In 1965, a group of thrill-seekers dared to enter the tower at night. As the clock struck midnight, the bell tolled on its own. Shadows swirled along the walls, twisting into impossible shapes. One of the teens disappeared after reaching for a faint light near the top window. The others fled, reporting that the tower seemed to rearrange itself, hallways looping into staircases that led nowhere, and doors opening to empty voids. Locals warned that the silent bell tower does more than haunt. It claims the curious, trapping them in a limbo between shadows and light. Those who linger risk being absorbed into the tower's eternal vigil, forever bound to hear the tolls and watch the living below. Even today, residents report hearing the bell ring in the middle of the night, seeing flickering shadows at the windows, and feeling a heavy presence watching from above. Some swear that if you look too long at the tower, the shadows may reach for you, pulling you into the darkness of the upper floors. If you ever approach the silent bell tower in Sem City after dark, do not climb. Do not follow the tolling, because the silent bell tower waits patiently, and some who step inside are never seen again.
Number 18. The Phantom Horse, Sem City's Midnight Rider. On the outskirts of Sem City, along an abandoned country road, locals tell tales of a phantom horse, a massive black stallion that gallops without a rider, its hooves thundering across the empty fields at midnight. Travelers who encounter it report being followed, chased, or trapped in strange loops until the first light of dawn. The story begins in 1927, when a wealthy rancher mysteriously disappeared along that very road. Witnesses reported seeing a black horse standing over his carriage, eyes glowing, and then vanishing into the night. After that, sightings of a riderless horse galloping through the fog became a common warning among locals. Visitors describe terrifying experiences. The horse appears suddenly in the mist, hoofbeats echoing unnaturally loud. One man reported attempting to pass it on horseback, only to find the creature mirroring every move, staying just a step behind. Its eyes seem almost human, glowing with a malevolent intelligence. Some claim the horse neighs under your bedroom window, leaving muddy hoofprints on your floor in the morning. In 1969, a group of teenagers dared to chase the phantom along the country road. The horse vanished repeatedly, only to reappear ahead, forcing them deeper into the fog. One teen lost sight of the others and swore the horse followed him for miles, galloping silently while he ran. When he finally emerged near the edge of the city, his boots were caked with mud, and strange hoof-shaped marks were embedded in the earth around him. Locals warn that the phantom horse does more than haunt the roads. It hunts the living, dragging them into the night, testing their fear, and leading them towards unseen fates. Those who linger risk being chased into the darkness, never to return. Even today, travelers report hearing hooves pounding through the fog, glimpsing a shadowy figure galloping without a rider, and feeling an unseen presence racing alongside them. Some swear that if you see it directly, the horse can follow you home, stalking silently until you vanish. If you ever find yourself on the country road outside Sem City at night, do not chase the sound of hooves. Do not try to approach the shadow, because the phantom horse waits patiently, and some who follow it are never seen again.
Number 19. The Vanishing House, Sem City's Shifting Walls. Just outside Sem City, hidden along a lonely road, stands an old house that locals call the Vanishing House. Strange stories tell that it appears and disappears without warning. Some who see it at night drive past it only to return the next day and find nothing there, as if it had never existed. The story begins in 1933, when a family moved into the house and vanished within weeks. Neighbors reported hearing laughter and arguments from the empty property, lights flickering through boarded-up windows, and shadows moving behind the curtains, though no one had lived there for decades. Over time, more sightings occurred. Travelers reported glimpsing the house along the road, but when they tried to approach, it seemed to shift, growing larger or smaller, doors appearing where none should be. Visitors described terrifying encounters. Those brave enough to step inside sometimes find rooms that don't belong, furniture rearranged in impossible ways, and mirrors reflecting spaces that are not present in reality. One explorer reported seeing his own home inside the vanishing house, twisted and dark, with shadowy figures pacing silently. When he turned to leave, the door vanished, forcing him to wander the house for hours until he stumbled outside at dawn. In 1968, a group of teenagers decided to investigate the property at night. As they stepped toward the front door, the house seemed to stretch taller, its windows glowing faintly. Shadows moved behind the walls, whispering their names. One teen vanished after entering a dark hallway, while the others fled, claiming the house shifted behind them, disorienting their path and forcing them into the surrounding woods. Locals warned that the vanishing house does more than haunt. It traps those who enter, folding space and time around its walls. Anyone who lingers risks becoming part of its shifting rooms, wandering endlessly, never finding the exit. Even today, travelers report seeing the house appear unexpectedly along the lonely road, lights flickering in the windows and shadows moving inside. Some swear that if you approach too closely, the walls themselves will close in, trapping you in a place that may not exist in the world of the living. If you ever see the vanishing house outside Sem City at night, do not approach. Do not step inside. Because the vanishing house waits patiently, and some who enter are never seen again.
Number 20. The Doctor's House, Sem City's Restless Patience. On a quiet street in Sem City stands a decrepit house, long abandoned but whispered about for its dark past. Locals call it the Doctor's House, claiming that the spirits of former patients haunt the halls, restless and vengeful. The story begins in 1918, when Dr. Elias Harrow, a controversial physician, moved into the home with rumors of secret experiments. Patients who entered sometimes disappeared, and others spoke of strange treatments and whispers echoing through the rooms. After his sudden death, the house was left empty, yet the presence remained. Shadows move through the halls, and doors creak as if someone invisible is pacing endlessly. Visitors describe chilling encounters. Cold hands brush their shoulders, faint whispers call out their names, and shadowy figures appear in the corners, watching silently. One vlogger spent a night inside and captured footage showing doors opening on their own, faint shapes passing through the walls, and an unseen force seemingly nudging him toward the basement. When morning came, he left pale and silent, a strange mark etched on his wrist. In 1963, a group of thrill-seekers decided to explore the house at night. As darkness fell, the air grew dense and shadowy figures became more visible. One member vanished after following a whisper down a hallway, while the others barely escaped, claiming the rooms had shifted and twisted, creating a labyrinth that trapped them in the house. Locals warned that the Doctor's House does more than haunt. It feeds on curiosity, trapping souls who enter in endless loops of fear and confusion. Those who linger too long risk becoming part of the house itself, wandering silently among the spirits of the restless patients. Even today, neighbors report lights flickering in empty windows, faint screams in the night, and cold drafts that brush past when no doors are open.
Some swear that if you linger too long, the house may claim you, adding another restless spirit to its dark legacy. If you ever pass the doctor's house in Sem City at night, do not enter, do not follow the whispers, because the doctor's house waits patiently, and some who step inside are never seen again.